Hello, everybody. Welcome to Chop and Slice. My name is Michael, and this is
Brandon.
We're here to talk about
Jaws, 1975. What a classic this was.
the first installment into the Jaws franchise, the movie that really spawned all these other shark movies like Deep Blue Sea, The Meg, Sharknadoes, all those stupid movies that we probably won't ever review.
Maybe Deep Blue Sea.
Deep Blue Sea, yeah, not well. I'm talking about Sharknado. Those are pretty stupid. I don't think we'll get into those.
No.
But yeah.
And this was Steven Spielberg's Jaws. So
yeah.
That's very important to mention.
The first ever really shark movie that I know of that, I think they put on screen. I'm not really sure if there's shark movie that came before it, but this is definitely the one that popularized all the shark movies.
Had a great opening scene, probably my favorite scene in the movie. Chrissy being the first one to fall victim to Jaws, and you don't see him, and she's just swimming out in the middle of the night. Now, I heard rumors that she actually did get hurt on set when they were pulling her under the water. There's a scene where she says it hurts, and there's, I don't know, a little bit of conspiracy there. When they were pulling her, she was getting hurt.
Yeah, there's a lot of things happening on set that are kind of weird and strange. Like a lot of people were getting hurt during the film or making of this film, so that's kind of interesting, But let's get into it. I thought it's a pretty good movie for its time. It's not very scary nowadays. I mean, it holds up. It's more like an action adventure. It's kind of a cool movie overcoming a community issue because this shark has become such a problem in the community, killing kids, teenagers, adults, whatever. You can't even go into the ocean and have some fun. You can't go by the beach. It's becoming a real issue, and the town, they want the beaches open for the 4th of July and all the festivities, but the officer, whose name is Martin Brody in the movie, played by Roy Schneider, pretty famous actor, he is not comfortable with the beaches being open. He will stop at nothing to make sure this shark is gone, rid of, dead. So that's pretty intense. This is a pretty intense film for the most part. So
it definitely has its moments. Where the shark just smashes through the boat. It's a pretty scary shark, measuring at 25 feet.
25 feet long,
which
2.5 tons.
Well, that's actually Deep Blue. That was who's a shark that comes the closest to Jaws. She is 2.5 tons and measuring 20 feet in length. Pretty massive shark.
Pretty massive shark. So once Martin Brody hooks up with his buddy Matt Hooper, who is played by Richard Dreyfuss, he's kind of, you could tell that he was improvising a lot in this movie. He's kind of a quirky kind of a guy, and he's kind of skeptical about when they bring in one of this what is it, a hammerhead shark?
It was a tiger
shark. They bring in this tiger shark, cut him open, and then find out it's not the one killing everybody. So eventually they hire the shark hunter, and for the fair price of 10 grand, which would be a lot of money nowadays, and he is Quint, no last name, played by the great Robert Shaw, who's actually pretty cool in this movie. Has those big mutton chops.
Yeah, 10 grand is not a lot nowadays, but
back then, it was good money, 1975. So 10 grand changed a man's life back then. Seriously, this guy is like an expert shark hunter. He has many, jaws and
just hanging up.
yeah. So they pay him 10 grand, and they go on a little adventure to capture the shark, which is nicknamed on set was Bruce, which is kind of cool. And then that inspired the shark in Finding Nemo, and his name is Bruce. So Bruce everywhere. So
it's a good name for a shark.
Yeah, it's a fair name. Sounds like a shark kind of name, But yeah, this movie, there's a lot of talking, like a lot that I kind of like.
It does have its slow
Yeah,
moments. There's moments in it where it kind of drags a little bit.
a little too much to me. It's a bit long of a movie. They could have cut out a lot of crap. It's a 2-hour 10-minute movie.
Like the part where they're drunk and just
talking.
Talking.
There's the dinner scene where we just don't need it.
But I guess what Steven Spielberg's going for here is he's trying to help you. He wants to make a connection with the characters and tries to make them.
The only really memorable character would be Martin Brody, Roy Schneider's character. He was actually kind of cool. He's the one that actually took down Jaws.
Steven Spielberg, these three guys, they're going out, on an adventure, and Steven Spielberg wants you to go on this adventure with them, and experience it. And I think that's,
Yeah, it's more of an adventure action movie to me than horror. In the beginning, it's kind of crazy. There's some moments where it does.
But we gotta mention Jaws. I mean,
yeah,
Jaws is Jaws.
Yeah, it is surprisingly rated PG, but that's kind of how movies were rated back then. If you look at Tourist Trap,
there's literally a kid in the movie that gets eaten alive by this shark, and it's still a PG rating.
Yeah, if you look at movies back then, like Tourist Trap, which came out in '79. Another great horror film that we're going to review. I love that movie. But it features decapitation, and that's rated PG, which is kind of strange. You can literally see a dude's head gets cut off. So
they were more lenient on the ratings.
The actual PG actually stood for parental. It stands for parental guidance. So technically that should be allowed, even with rated R movies. As long as you are guided by a parent, you can watch it. So parental guidance, with a parent, you should be able to watch Jaws. It's not. I guess for that time, it scared a lot of people because that was the standard back then for scary movies. But nowadays,
I have a great fear of sharks, and especially that opening scene with Chrissy. That's what made me afraid of sharks forever. Watching it as a kid.
Yeah, if you're afraid of the ocean and sharks, then this movie will kind of freak you out a bit. But it was very well done. It still holds up towards other shark movies, I think. The shark actually looked pretty good. Practical effects was really good. Nowadays, you'll get a crappy-looking CGI shark, and it's not the same.
No.
And the acting was pretty good in this movie, too, because, acting back then, I think, was better. They were just trying to be themselves for the most part, They weren't trying to be overly, crazy. Like when they're all drunk, I think they were probably actually really drunk.
Probably.
It sure seemed like it. Everything was a lot chiller back then in the 70s and stuff, so it was definitely a good movie overall.
And I did like the look of the shark, but I mean, you can totally tell that it's...
For the most part, but I mean...
For the 70s.
For that time, yeah.
It looked better pretty well done.
Yeah.
There are certain scenes, though, in the movie where, I mean, it's a massive shark. It's a very massive shark. And there's a lot of up-close shots in there where they're trying to shoot the shark and they're just missing every shot.
Yeah, there was some scenes where I felt like...
It's such a big target, there's no way you can miss it.
Yeah, and then you obviously should get a bigger boat. I mean... I would have came back with a bigger boat, and that would have saved...
and that's a very famous line in the movie. We're going to need a bigger boat.
Yeah, that would have saved Quint's life, the shark hunter's life, so should have thought about that. But
to be honest, though, I was getting kind of sick of him. So.
But he died.
He had the most brutal.
Yeah, you could hear the crunching. That was pretty sweet. But yeah, it's like he died right before they killed him too. This kind of sucks. But yeah, it was, for the most part, I like it. I enjoyed it. There's just a lot of talking and not a lot of memorable scenes to me in this. When the kid died, that was pretty memorable. But other than that, the ending is just kind of
Most memorable, definitely to me, is Chrissy. The way she's just swimming out in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And you don't see what's happening, and she's just, as she takes her final breath,
Yeah.
being brought into the water.
Yeah, that was kind of.
And just never seen or heard of again.
It's kind of scary to think of.
And that's why I won't go out in the ocean ever.
Yeah.
You couldn't.
You should avoid
me.
the ocean.
Yeah, I would.
Humans aren't meant to be swimming around in the ocean.
Yeah, if you can't breathe under there, you shouldn't be out there.
I do like the scene where the shark is attacking the shark cage.
Yeah, that's when shit really starts to.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Just denting the bars.
When Matt was down there, that was something I enjoyed. That was kind of fun because you actually feared for his life. I haven't seen this movie in a long time, so I forgot whether he lived or died. But I was happy to see that he lived, even though he's super goofy in this movie and kind of annoying with all his constant screaming and crying.
And the faces.
Yeah, the weird faces he'd make. He's a memorable character, too. But yeah, for the most part, this movie is pretty solid. It's a classic. The music was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, the music is definitely very well known.
Yeah, it starts off as it's a mild horror movie, then it definitely turns into like an action adventure. But
I kind of compare it to I Know What You Did Last Summer. To me, that movie kind of starts off like horror like, but then it turns into an action adventure.
It kind of stays slasher for me, but that's. But Jaws is just kind of like good feel movie at the end when they finally kill the shark and the good guys win, and
yeah, it was pretty satisfying.
Watching it blow up, and that was cool. Yeah, and if you haven't seen Jaws, and then you probably should. I mean, it's one of those classics that you got to see.
I definitely would agree with
recommend. That. I don't think I've seen the sequels. Maybe a few times.
I've watched the sequels once, and to be honest, they're pretty
same.
trash.
They run out of ideas, and it's not the same.
Yeah, and I don't believe the sequels were done by Steven Spielberg.
And they always try to do it bigger and better, but it always turns out worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jaws, 1975. It looks good for its time too. Like I said,
I'd say overall it's aged pretty well.
Yeah, pretty well. The dialogue's good. There's a cool little shot where there's like a shooting star. There's conspiracy theory on that, whether that was captured live or.
It was like twice, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was shot twice. So, that's Steven Spielberg kind of like is on like he's trying to like play it off like he didn't know, but who knows? Maybe it was shot real like that was kind of cool though. It was a nice looking shot. A lot of nice not a lot of nice shots where the sky gets dim and
yeah, it's kind of red.
Yeah, a lot of cool
it had a lot of beautiful scenery. Shots in there. Yeah, scenery. Lots of beautiful scenery in this movie. I'm not entirely sure though if a lot of this was filmed actually in the ocean.
Oh, it looked like it. For the most part.
I mean, because you can see the horizon out there, and it's all just big bodies of water. So I'm pretty sure they probably were.
It was filmed in Massachusetts, so that was kind of, and then the town.
What was the budget of this movie?
The budget of Jaws was $4 million, but it ended up costing $9 million, and ended up costing $9 million. They started off at a $4 million budget, but it things keep breaking on set and whatnot, so they had to raise the budget. But it sure made a lot of money, as it made $476 $67.5 million. So that's a lot of money. That is a lot of money.
Well, it was enough to make sequels.
That's a profit of $467.5 million. So there you go.
I think it's safe to say that it was a success.
Yeah, massive success. And it continues, the Legend of Jaws continues to grow. The movie is what it is. It's very solid, and, I appreciate it for what it was and the time. I would definitely recommend it for anybody that hasn't seen Jaws. I know a lot of these older movies are hard to watch nowadays, but it's kind of nice to see, no cell phones and
Yeah, I really
media.
love that
It's
too.
just classic good stuff. You kind of get to go back to those times a little bit. The good old days, the times where, unfortunately, we weren't alive during the 70s, but times seemed so much simpler back then. A lot better, to be honest. And people were more,
the
normal.
people,
I don't know.
and especially with making movies back then, people improvised. They didn't rely on technology and CGI. They actually put hard work into it, and not just with the practical effects, but with storytelling.
Yeah, the acting was better back then. There was
getting close to the characters and appreciating them for what they were.
There's a lot of memorable characters from the 70s in all movies, So yeah, Jaws, 1975. I mean, let's get to the ratings. As a whole, as a classic, because I kind of judge it on a curve, just because it's a classic and, it's a legendary horror film. It's up there with the Halloween 1978. It's up there with Nightmare, that first installment, American Psycho. Well, not American Psycho. What am I thinking of? Psycho. It's American Psycho.
Christian Bale.
Yeah, a Psycho.
We'll do that movie eventually.
Yeah,
we'll get to it.
I wouldn't call that maybe a cult classic, but not a classic. It's up there, with all those Psycho, Friday, the first installment of Nightmare on Elm Street, just everything like that. It's up there. It's definitely a classic. Texas Chainsaw, which this movie came out a year after that, so definitely ahead of its time for because now you see like all these shark movies and Anaconda versus the Great Wall, like stupid stuff like that. But great movie overall. A little slow pace for me, my personal taste in movies. This is not something I would go back and just, it's rewatchable, but it's not something I'm gonna watch, whenever I'm bored or something. I got plenty of other movies that I'd put ahead of this. But as a cult classic, it was nice to watch again. A lot of ending action. The ending sequence is great when they kill the shark by shooting that what was it?
It was a
tank.
Yeah,
shooting the tank and blowing up the shark. That was kind of cool and smart thinking. That was good writing. So yeah, with everything taken in value, I would give this movie such a classic. I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. My personal taste.
7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I know that's maybe a bit low for some of our listeners, but it's a classic. But it's just for my taste personally, a bit slow. A lot of talking. I know a lot of movies back then included more talking, but not too big of. I like to see action stuff, but it had a good amount, but. It's just a little long. It didn't need to be that long of a film. There's a lot left to be desired. But I love it. It's a good movie. So I definitely appreciate it. So, Bren?
Yeah, I have a lot of appreciation for this movie. I enjoyed it. I'm going to give it 8.5 on this one because of my appreciation, and I actually enjoy watching this movie. It's it's a lot of fun. It's pretty terrifying. This movie is another one of those movies that freaked me out as a kid. There were even some people that was too afraid to sit on the toilet. Worried Jaws is gonna come up and get you.
It's got a good jump scare scene.
Mm-hmm. This movie it was good storytelling. It was very well written, but I mean, hey, it's Steven Spielberg, so
Yeah, just more action adventure than a horror
Mhm.
to me. That's all.
So for me, it's definitely above average, and I think 8.5 is a fair rating
So
for
with that
this
score, that gives it official
six,
chop and slice rating of 16 out of 20.
20.
So that's pretty solid.
Yeah, that is pretty solid.
Not a lot bad things to say about this movie, really. It's just
Other than some of the slow scenes,
yeah, we could have cut that out, but it is
a
what
little
it is.
bit of it. You know, I understand you got to talk and character development and whatever, but there were some scenes that could have just done without.
Yeah, some scenes that just weren't relevant to what we needed to know. I didn't need to know everything. Just let's get to the action. Let's kill that damn shark.
Yeah, and a lot of the kill sequences were good. You know.
Yeah, they were. Especially the one where the shark kills Quint at the end. Definitely like that. That was actually a really well done kill scene. So props to Steven Spielberg on that.
And one thing I like is how it doesn't. It took a long time before it finally did reveal Jaws.
Yeah, it
You
was
know.
kind of a mystery.
You
Until
know,
you saw how big it was.
Yeah, it was like, wow, shark is fucking
Destroyed
huge.
that boat. Oh man.
Yeah.
Just a scary movie just because it's not like scary on screen, but more mentally being in that position.
I mean, imagine yourself just on this boat.
Yeah, with a big shark attacking it middle of the night and the daytime. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you just see it busting through in
You
the
do
water.
fear for the characters, and it is it's good in that aspect. So.
And obviously, you know they're gonna succeed, but it's like you don't know which characters are gonna die. You know.
Right. Well, even back in that time, 1975, you really maybe first time watching it, you don't know. Because it is still early for horror movies at that point. So what do they call it? The trend of the good guys always winning wasn't really set at that point, I think. So first time watching it in 1975, I don't think people knew, will these characters survive? Unfortunately one didn't. Quint didn't, so he died, but he didn't get his 10 grand either. So
I wonder if they did though.
they should. Risking their lives.
life.
So
just save the community. So yeah, there it is.
Jaws,
16 out of 20.
Yep, 16 out of 20 for Jaws 1975. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to review the other ones, but
later.
Way later down the line.
Yeah, we got bigger fish to fry. No pun intended.
Yep, bigger fish to fry.
So yeah, with that being said, stay out of the water. You know. I know I do. I'm a land lover, so.
And start protesting for these damn Japanese to stop poaching.
Yeah.
The goddamn sharks.
Yeah, finning the.
Your fin soup ain't that good.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. And
like and subscribe. And
stay tuned.
Yep, stay tuned.
Later, guys.
Later.